Good morning and welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton and today's edition for the 1st of February comes to you from London. And we start by looking at currencies, then stock markets, some commodities, and last of all some tech stocks, quite a few reporting at the moment, so having quite an effect on stock markets generally, actually. So we start by looking at the dollar index. Has just continued this weakness. We're below the cloud here. So really dollar weakness, just the theme at the moment. This new thrust here is going to give us a new downside target. We've got a cluster of targets here, 97, 98, 98 and 50 on the dollar index. So we're currently below the 100 level. It's not that psychologically important for this index, less so than, say, a currency level, perhaps. But the interesting thing is clear short-term downside potential, medium and upside long-term potential. In fact, there's a shortage of medium-term upside targets, and we are just testing the cloud at the moment on this medium-term daily chart. So quite interesting that we're seeing that. Although the long-term picture is still bullish. So this short-term picture is not enough yet to turn these longer and medium-term charts bearish, but we do have dollar weakness still as we look at the moment. And we see the euro strength conversely, and that's no big surprise. Dollar weak, euro strong, and we've got this 108 level, 108.50 is probably the level that we need on the price to get through, and the lagging line about 109.10. So we've still got quite a bit of work to do for the euro to turn bullish, and of course we do have these downside targets, a lot of medium-term targets, and a shortage of upside targets. But again, conversely to the dollar, we've got a lot of short-term upside targets, and a new thrust target will come off this bounce-off support. So short-term, euro bullish, dollar bearish, but that's short term. Long term, it's the other way around. If we look at the Japanese yen, we see here dollar strengthening against the yen. So the yen was strengthening here. Now the dollar strengthening again. So we're just seeing that dollar strengthening in there. Or yen is weaker than the dollar, if you like. But long term, again, we're above the cloud here. We're just coming through on the weekly cloud. We're not yet through on the lagging line. We'd need to move above about 119, 120 to activate this big upside target. If we get above this high and stay there for a little while, that for a day or two, that is going to activate this big upside target that will be very strong. In fact, it's this 125 level that we need to get through, really. But interestingly, the 125 level relates to that. If we just get above that recent level, then we this 120 level, then we activate that upside target. Now it's only one target, and we do still have a couple of downside targets. So dollar weakness is just showing through short term there as well. Sterling against the dollar is, again, the dollar weakness is having an effect here. We're just stuck in the cloud. We are still bearish in real terms here, just trying to get through on the daily as well. But again, the long-term picture is still pretty bearish for sterling with downside targets. It would take a lot to deactivate these targets. We've got to move higher than where the start of these thrust columns were given. So for the moment, sterling is showing a little bit of strength or dollar weakness. It's really all about dollar weakness. And then if we look at the sterling euro rate, we see here that again that's just recovering as well. And here we see the Swiss rate. Again, sterling is just easing up as well. So at the moment, that's the theme. Against the Australian dollar, we're down very, very slightly, so no big changes there. If we look at stock markets, the S&P had a little bit of a bounce at the end of last night. We're just wandering below the cloud on the prices, but on the lagging line, we are still above the cloud. So we still do have these strong charts for long-term, medium-term, and short-term are bullish. US market's still looking pretty strong. Same for Nasdaq, just finding support on the cloud here, looking pretty strong. We do have a downside target, but mostly it's about upside targets. And if we look at the Dow is back below the 20,000 level quite convincingly, but we are still very bullish in terms of the chart. So nothing major to worry about with these markets at the moment. Russell 2000 a little bit more choppy in the short term. The futures are showing signs of opening up this morning. The S&P up very slightly, the Nasdaq up 0.5%. So it does look like we will open higher. FTSE Interestingly, we're still below the cloud, so not looking as strong as the US markets, but we are still bullish long and medium term. And the FTSE 250 is just coming through the cloud this morning, less of a sterling impact on this index than the FTSE 100. So we are just seeing a recovery in mid caps, taking us into bullish, bullish, bullish. We've got pretty well bullishness on all three time frames now. And the DAX, again, just a bit of a sell-off here, but a bounce this morning. Still just hanging in there on the short term, but the medium and long term chart still bullish. The Nikkei was up 0.5% overnight, maintaining the bullishness on all three charts here. We do have this big upside target activated. Shanghai is still closed for Chinese New Year, but Hong Kong is actually now open. Hang Seng is open, only closed for a couple of days, whereas the Chinese market closes for the week. And we see here again, we're pretty bullish. So that's pretty good news because China has had quite some concerns. We're just about to break on the leg along on the Hang Seng. The Sensex is up 1.4%, so we're seeing quite a change there. It's quite interesting that we're just seeing that coming through on the Hang Seng, and that's bullish. And then on the S&P Australian index, we're seeing here we're just still below the cloud, but we are just still pretty much bullish in the long term and medium term. So a lot of upside targets in the short term chart. We expect that to reverse quite soon. Taking a look at commodities, Brent up very slightly this morning, just trying to get back into that bullish territory on the short term. Quite a few upside targets here to play for. Same for WTI, not quite bullish on this chart, but showing signs of coming through. Nat gas is still bearish below the cloud, but we're just kicking up off this lows here. So 309 was the target. We didn't quite get there. If we don't quite reach the target, that is a bullish confirmation. So we might just see some recovery in the gas price. Take a look at gold. We've talked a lot about gold over the new year. It's rising back through the last few days. It's made quite a strong recovery back in the short term. The long term is bullish, the medium term not so bullish. Interestingly, if we can break above this level here, if we break above that level, we will activate this upside target of 15% upside. So quite key there. Taking a look at silver, actually looking pretty bullish now, really rising above the cloud, coming through on the daily, tends to be a bit of a lead indicator on gold, and we're seeing here we've got good upside potential. So precious metals having a better time. If we look at US 10-year Treasury yields, sitting at just under 2.5%, the Fed due to make announcements today. That will be interesting to see how that affects the 10-year Treasury yield. Apple reported results last night, was quite strongly up in after-hours trading, better than expected, but cautionary outlook. So it'll be interesting to see how they react in the market at opening today. Google, just below the cloud after last week's results, disappointed a bit, but we still have very good medium and long-term position. Amazon, bullish on all three time frames. We do have a little bit of downside pressure here. Facebook reporting after closing tonight, so that will be interesting. Bullish on all three time frames. This target of 1.41%. 8% upside. If they surprise, we might just see that sort of 8% rise in after-hours trading. It'll be quite interesting to see. At the moment, bullish on all three time frames and quite a lot of long-term upside targets to play for. Microsoft, bullish after last week's results, just pulled back a little bit. We do have a downside target, but bullish on all three time frames. And Nvidia, my best performing stock last year, still hanging in there, but quite a lot of volatility the last few days. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.